everybody. Alongside Doris Burke, I'm Dave Pash. First time for Toronto, Doris, in the playoffs since 2002. When Vince Carter played here, Carter forced a trade, wanted to play somewhere else, wasn't happy with the direction of the franchise, and he's played here before the last couple of years with the Nets, but nothing like this. He's hoping that he can turn boos to applause today.
Half man, half amazing was once revered. Now he is reviled. The main criticism being that he didn't always play hard. Well, guess what? An interested Vince Carter is a dangerous Vince Carter. Interestingly, they want to make him a scorer, not a passer.
And he's not the only weapon the Nets have. They have one of the best trios in the NBA.
Yeah, Richard Jefferson's explosion, one of the best parts of his game, impacted by his ankle. But when he's on the open floor, he is still dangerous. And Jason Kidd can impose his will without taking a shot. A terrific rebounder and passer.
It is Sportsfeld story time. We are looking back to the 2007 NBA playoffs. It is Raptors versus Nets. It is the old friend Vincent Lamar Carter, 3 names like a serial killer, getting his revenge on the team that he, is it revenge when you make a point to leave and quit? Is that revenge?
No, I think it's just sort of punching down.
Punching down. Yes, too true. The Raptors had gone up and down, battled and punched and fought and scratched and clawed, and managed to get themselves into a Game 6 situation. They had looked very bad. They had looked fairly good. And they found themselves facing elimination in New Jersey on May the 4th in Game 6.
I just wanted to tack on something I forgot to mention in last week's episode that I felt the need to mention because I think it's one of the funnier things that has happened to the Raptors franchise. But obviously this was like the first playoff series in 5 years for the team. Tons of excitement. Game 1 of the series, the crowd, of course, in red t-shirts.
Right.
The whole building red. The Raptors were wearing white and the Nets were wearing red. If there is anything that sums up the pre-Masai Toronto Raptors, I think it's that. Mm-hmm. Finally achieving your goal and just embarrassing yourself immediately. I will never forget that. It was a hot topic of conversation on the schoolyard, as they say, for a franchise with a lot of embarrassing moments. I feel like that's one that doesn't get talked about much, nor should it. Like, it's not that big a deal. But when I look back, it's like, ugh, for fuck's sake.
And so perfectly emblematic of the pre-We the North Raptors.
Yes, exactly. Just no identity. Completely
half doing what the plan is and just being like, yep, we're going to do red out. And then it comes down to what are we going to wear today? And it's, we're going to wear white.
And just like, it was a team like forever, even into some of the early Masai years, forever was like, boy, this team just has no toughness and no identity. And they're just sort of there. This is like this and next season's Raptors team. So the 2006-2007 team and the 2007-2008 team that loses to the Magic in the playoffs. Just like forgotten playoff teams with no identity. And I feel like the jersey and the shirt thing was a very good metaphor for all that.
I get to go to one of those games in the following year. Not that it matters now, but I remember it being one of those ones where it's a day game and you get drunk at the game and then you get out of the stadium and it's 4:00. You're like, oh, I guess I'm going to go to bed at 6 because I am exhausted from yelling and drinking. And now my heart is broken. So I don't know what to do with my time or with myself. But we focus 8 p.m. May 4th, 2007, the Continental Airlines Arena in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Chris Bosh and the Raptors. Jose Calderon starts in this one. He had sprained his ankle in the previous game, and there was actually, I'd forgotten about this until we watched the highlight package. There was some question about whether or not he would play in this game, and he does end up playing and starting in this game for the Raptors.
Yeah, this is actually a really good game as playoff elimination games go. This was a nail biter, as they say. And for all the many times in this playoff series where you kind of expect the Raptors to wilt, this was kind of the opposite. They're the ones to make the comeback in this one. They came out strong. They went with Mo Pete, Chris Bosh, Andrea Bargnani, Anthony Parker, and Jose Calderon to start. A very Mo Pete game here. So I love it. 45 minutes of game time, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 9 points for a +2. Just efficient on 4 or 5 shooting, efficient, good defense. I just wanted to praise Mo Pete.
What an alternate universe. Sometimes you look at these box scores and 2007, which is 14 years ago, feels like a million miles away. The Raptors as a team shot 6 of 10 from 3.
Well, you pointed out
the whole game.
You pointed out that no one's being guarded on the perimeter, and they still only took that many shots, and the Nets only took 19. They were 10 of 19.
That's unbelievable that both teams would combine over the course of the game to only take 29 threes. And both of them hit well over 50%. Like if you were hitting your threes at a 60% clip, take more threes.
It's also like you pointed out last week about how like you couldn't believe how low the scoring is in these series and how low scoring was back then in the NBA. And it's crazy they get to 98, 97 points without taking all those threes.
Unbelievable.
Obviously, sports evolve a lot over time. But basketball's evolution in the last 20 years is not even 20 years, 15 years is really, really unbelievable.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. They would be tied through one, and then second quarter is TJ Ford time. He basically single-handedly carries them into the half. TJ Ford, 13 points in the second quarter, 6 of 7 shooting, 1 from 1 for 3. Also chips in a pair of boards. TJ Ford, one of those guys that interested now that his career is over, obviously doesn't have a ton of like legacy here. I guess his legacy is like, it was only 2 seasons, right? And a lot of it was that battle with Jose and the T. Jose Calderford combination that they had over 2 years. But a guy that like at the time, I remember being very well liked and very highly thought of in the fan base.
Yeah. And I think the Ford Calderon, I don't know if I want to go as far as to call it a rivalry, but the Ford Calderon, we'll call it a rivalry, really was an interesting subplot, especially because like it seemed like they were each grabbing the starting spot from each other all year. And then in this game, it ended up being like the whole narrative by the end. Because as you say, Ford has that amazing second quarter and Calderon only plays 3 minutes in the quarter. And then Calderon plays the majority of the rest of the game and ends up sort of being on the losing end of the final play. And the question was like, shouldn't TJ Ford have been out there?
Yes. When you put up 13 points in a quarter, I think you expect to play more than 5 minutes the rest of the game.
Very weird player usage by Sam Mitchell in the second half of this game. The starters play almost the entire half. TJ Ford plays 5 minutes. Joey Graham plays 1 minute. The rest of the entire half, Peterson, Bosch, Bargnani, and Parker, and Calderon. Not that he had a whole ton of other options. Like I'm not saying that Juan Dixon should have got run in this game, but very much not the way the team had sort of been playing for the previous 8 months.
To your point, in the second half, the full 24 from Peterson, the full 24 from Parker, the full 24 from Bargnani, and 22:53 from Bosch, which is basically the full 24. A minute of Joey Graham, 1 minute, 7 seconds of Joey Graham, split into 2 30-second shifts, which I think was the very beginning of the fourth and the very end of the third. It's a lot of Richard Jefferson in the highlight package for this one, making plays on both sides of the ball. He has some big dunks. He has some big plays. Richard Jefferson would end up with 24 points in the game. And the number one thing that I muttered as we watched this highlight package back was fucking Jason Kidd, who is a piece of human garbage in the first place. He has another 18 and 15 with 8 rebounds. But again, cannot be stated a total piece of human trash.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to sit here and be like, oh, we love Jason Kidd, because obviously we don't. But at least he's also a terrible coach now. So I guess that's something.
And almost ruined Giannis Antetokounmpo. Almost kept him from being a superstar.
Yes, very close to. But like,
and chased Larry Sanders out of the league.
Fun to beat him.
Don't know if you read that piece about what position he was in practice, but
I did not. But it does not surprise me.
He made them practice over Christmas break.
It's also unfortunate to that point This, obviously, we couldn't at the time because of Vince, but like this Nets team was pretty likable outside of Jason Kidd. Like Richard, who doesn't love Richard Jefferson? Now it's Vince. Jason Collins was on this team. Antoine Wright was on this team. Clifford Robinson was on this team. Like it's a likable squad.
Antoine Wright is a likable guy. What do you have in favor of Antoine Wright?
I don't know. I have nothing against Antoine Wright.
He did play for the Raptors a couple years later.
Exactly.
Started 10 games in 2010.
I fucking hated this Nets team at the time, but looking back on it, it's like, this is a likable bunch, except for Jason Kidd.
And Boston Nakbar, who hits only 2 threes in the game, but both of them are absolutely massive. Euro Shlokar.
Bastian Nakbar, just right in the mold of Eastern European Raptors killers in the playoffs on the Nets, as we would see 7 years later when Mirza Teletovic lit us up from 3 consistently.
Do we dare to say Boston Nakbar ahead of his time?
Maybe.
Stretch 5?
Maybe.
The fourth quarter begins with the Raptors down 7, 75-68. They would quickly close that gap to 79 to 80-79. A 1-point game on a Calderon jumper from 19 feet with just over 8.5 minutes left. Vince answers with a 3, but Bosch makes a 2 from 12 feet away. A lot of Richard Jefferson down the stretch. Vince Carter with a dunk with 7 minutes left to make it a 4-point lead, which Vince Carter dunking again. That's pretty funny. We get all the way down to inside the 2-minute mark. Mo Pete makes a 2. Raptors down 1. Under a minute left. The teams exchange. There's a bad pass from Vince. Everyone goes nuts. Bosch misses a 2. Kidd misses a 3. Rebound Peterson. Timeout Raptors with 1 minute to go. They get the ball to Bosch. He makes a 13-foot jumper. Raptors up 1. There's a bunch of scramble up until Richard Jefferson makes a very nice layup at the rim. 98-97, 8 seconds left.
Not far to trigger, 12.6 to go. Nets trying to get to the second round. Raptors for game 7. Jefferson goes quick, spins, and scores! 8.3 left, timeout Toronto. Richard Jefferson got right to the hoop.
That was a beautiful play. When they brought Jason Kidd up the middle of the floor, as soon as he made the catch, they ran a back screen for Jefferson, which they just hit him with the ball on the right-hand side and said, go.
And the Raptors put it in the hands of Jose Calderon, their assist to turnover point guard. Remember the assist to turnover ratio conversation surrounding Jose Calderon? It was the only thing
I don't actually.
Oh my goodness. It was the first ever advanced stats argument in basketball that I remember, was that Jose Calderon's assist to turnover ratio made him one of the best pure point guards in the league because he never turned the ball over and he only ever got assists.
I remember the Jose Calderon free throw discourse.
Oh yes. One of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, but not the assist turnover. But I believe that sounds absolutely like a proto Raptors Twitter thing to like make a guy a club legend because of assist to turnover ratio. That's very Raptors.
Anyway, the unfortunate truth of what about to happen is, however,
8.3 seconds is a long time, but if they take away that first option, you've got to react quickly.
Morris Peterson, Anthony Parker, Chris Bosh, Andrea Bargnani, Jose Calderon, Antoine Wright, who had the big rebound before out there. Toronto hasn't gotten any offensive rebounds tonight, only 3. So a second chance, not likely to happen. The Raptors season on the line. 8.3 to go, and buckle up, here we go. To Calderon, watched by Kidd. Gotta go. Calderon with 4. Jefferson steals it. Kidd has it. And the Nets are going to the second round. The Raptors never got the shot off. And Richard Jefferson comes up with the big play on both ends to eliminate the Raptors. And the Nets are heading for Cleveland for the second round of the playoffs.
We were just used to it. I guess the thing is we were used to it at this time.
Yeah, I remember this game being like obviously very tense, and I was watching it extremely tensely. But when they lost in Game 7 to the Nets in 2014, when Lowry got blocked by Paul Pierce, that one hurt. This one was just like, yeah, okay. Didn't really expect it anyway.
True.
There was no like build up to this one. I don't know why. feel like the whole team was so charmed the whole year. And then they lost Garbajosa, and then it was very much that like happy to be there kind of thing for a lot of it.
Calderon gets a bit of a trap from Kidd, shoves him off. There's a back pick, and Bosch, trying to do the old back post on Jefferson, tries to shove it and lob over top of him. Richard Jefferson, at this point in his career, still an absolute prime athlete, easily, I will say, jumps up and snags that back. 26-year-old Richard Jefferson not throwing a ball over the back of his head. He makes it for the steal. They chuck it down the court. This game is over. A little too easy. Pretty terrible pass. Raptors lose.
Can you imagine in the world we live in today, if that was your end of game possession in an elimination game? The discourse would be firing. Wouldn't
be great. And we all remember the Chris Childs turnover. That,
of course.
All I have to do is say the Chris Childs turnover, and there's no question what I'm talking about.
Yep. Of course. That's up there too.
Luckily, that's Jose Calderon's legacy is not tarnished in the slightest on this, because Jose Manuel Calderon will always be loved.
Of course.
In this city. But that is how it ends. A turnover into the hands of Richard Jefferson. The Nets go on to win the series. The Nets win the series on the spot right then and there. A bit of a downer, but that is how the story ends for the 2007 Raptors.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, it's kind of a funny year in that it felt like it was going to be hugely transformational to the Raptors. Just as 2014 felt it was going to be, and then ended up being transformational to the Raptors. But this one just kind of through, poor management, not being able to attract free agents, not being able to build a team around a legitimate superstar in Chris Bosh. This just kind of wasn't the start of something.
Yeah, absolutely right. It was not. It was the start of the beginning of the start of the end. And then they would have to completely redo it again. So that is it for the Raptors playoff run. We will look ahead. Next week, we are going to talk about where the team went from here and what that meant for the future, and how they went from Jose Calderon and TJ Ford to eventually Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Kawhi Leonard, and all that stuff. All of that and more coming up next week on an all-new episode of Sportsfeld Storytime.